Vanessa Brooks, and I'm here to support my grandson, who is a student at Roosevelt in the 8th grade, who has had an IEP with Oakland Unified since the 3rd grade here, and who has been failed by Oakland Unified School District because they have made so many deep cuts in services provided for students with special needs and in the classrooms that there's no one there to do the work. We were supposed to have a mandated meeting this last September, and now we're just beginning to start to have conversations. The school year is practically over, and now they're telling me he may not be promoted or be able to cross the stage. And so if you're going to give my grandson a failing grade, I'm giving the district a failing grade, because they continuously cut and make these cuts that impact students and classrooms to the point where all they're doing is providing sharecropper education. And so when we're looking at just globally how we're going to be able to compete, we're failing our students across the nation. Oakland has been doing this ever since I was employed with them since 2008. We've had layoffs and layoffs and layoffs, and they keep pushing the work down to the office, and they're telling teachers that you're going to have to make do without any support. And when you're having kids that have special needs and they can't get the support, and you have an inclusion program that you want to put them in the classrooms, and because maybe they don't understand what's happening, they may act out. How's a teacher going to manage that? What's that impact for the other students in the class? They don't care. So if you want to create a matrix of how you can grade my grandson for him to move forward, what's the matrix that the board uses for grading the administrators that have been there? Administrators that were put in these positions, some of them had no experience whatsoever. This is not a test tube. This is not an experiment. This is my grandson's education, and he's entitled to get the best that he possibly can, even if I am going to a public school to get it.
And you think it has to do with racism, systemic racism? I mean, because or is it just privatization, or what's causing this?
So I think it's a little bit of both. And I know that when I was in the Department of Finance, I was a director there. All the black directors, we were all laid off. And I was like, what did I do? Been doing the job. And then now you go and you see there, and it's not a reflection of our community. It's people that are there that are going to be yes men. And so when you're a yes man, they don't want to hear the hard questions. So, and that was one of the things I did. I've always been a union person. I was in SEIU. I was in UAOS, working with the administrators and the principals, and this has just been an ongoing problem. They need a cut at the very top. They need to do the ratio from administrators to teachers, and I know we're well over. I know we are. The support has to be in the community. Ever since this gentrification has come into Oakland and they've closed schools, all these charter schools are opening up. I know we have to give money to the charter schools.
Why do you think that? Why should they? They're privately run. They're not really public schools.
No, they're not public schools. But the way that our system is set up, okay, we're going to give them the same benefits. I know that when I was working, you would have charter schools that would keep kids on other books until October to make sure that they got that ADA money for the year. Then after that, they start letting kids go. And then they were bringing them back to Oakland. Okay, and these kids, they needed support, and they didn't get it there, and then you bring them to Oakland, and we don't have a viable plan to help them. Yeah, you look in the flats, and you see what's going on at the schools in the flats, and you look at what's available in the hills, and some parents can't organize the way that they do in the hills like they do in the flats. They used to have community engagement, where they would go out and they would work with the families. They're not doing any of that anymore. I see they're laying those positions off. So I just don't think they care. They might as well just say that they're going to be the administration for charter schools, because that's what's going to be happening. They're not doing anything to help us.
Do you think there's a strike in Los Angeles over similar issues, gentrification, privatization? Why isn't the CTA, the unions, demanding that the money go to public schools? And California's a wealthy state. You have 130 billionaires.
Right.
And they don't have money for good public schools?
Right. Well, that's because education is not on the top of their priority right now. It's about making dollars. And for them, if it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make dollars. They rather keep us dummied down and force us to take cheaper jobs instead of educate us. So, you know, when I just look at what's happening with education, I look at what a governor in Florida is trying to do just to change and erase history. And I just look at what's happening today. My grandson is like, Nana, what world are you guys leaving me? And I can't even answer that because I don't know.
My name's Harley. I'm a teacher in Oakland Unified, and we're here to, send a message to the district and the community that we are, worth more than what OUSD says we are, and that their refusal to invest in these schools itself constitutes a constant disruption to our students' education, and that we're here to demand that OUSD bargain with our union fairly, even though this is not a union event, and repair the harm they have done over decades as they've systematically divested resources from our schools.
And why are they doing this?
Fantastic question. And I'm sure lots of ink could be spilled on that. As for the political motives and the sort of larger agenda of privatization and public disinvestment and artificial crises, but we don't need to get into all that now. What matters is they think they can. They think they can keep doing this, and they will continue to think they can keep our schools unfunded and keep their administrative pockets, packed with cash. They think they can do that until we show them they can't.
And they have gotten additional money from the state. Has that money gone to the teachers and the staff?
I haven't seen it. I got a big old hole in my classroom floor that could use some of that money. You can just, pack some dollar bills in there, that'll fix it.
So where's the money gone?
I mean, we've seen the payroll for administration, the central administration, balloon over the last 10 years, 5 years, 1 year. We've seen they continue to hire consultants and contractors to solve problems that they should be talking to us about solving. They blow money on lawsuits and settlements that, if they were simply following the law and, following their own books correctly, they wouldn't need to spend money on. Their district office is at a corporate building downtown that they spend hundreds of thousands of dollars every month and year to rent, when every other district that I know of has their own building, and you'd think OUSD has closed enough schools by now that they could use one of those buildings that they have, but no, there's sort of this prevailing ideology among many kind of senior bureaucrats within government institutions that they need to feel like the executive businessmen that they share the floor with, right? Sort of this kind of ideology of privatization that we sort of refer to as neoliberalism more broadly, that the government needs to act like a business with the same motives, in pursuit of profit by another name, essentially, in pursuit of financial efficiency without regard to the externalities caused by those efficiencies, such as kids not having paraprofessionals in the classroom to help them read. So that's why we're here, is to challenge this prevailing kind of neoliberal privatizing ideology of the Oakland Unified School District, which OUSD finds itself Oakland is the front lines of this, because this type of ideology, this type of agenda is most heavily pursued against the most marginalized children, right? Working class Black and brown youth whose education is seen as essentially expendable, seen as a laboratory for their political experiments. If this ideology worked, Palo Alto would be run like this. Piedmont would be run like this. Walnut Creek would be run like this, but it's not. So they try it here, and we're here to stop that.
And the number of charter schools in Oakland has gone up during state takeover. More charters came in. Is this part of the privatization? And is charters a threat? And has the union taken that up?
Oh, and absolutely, right. The progressive charterization of Oakland Unified over the last 20 years or so is absolutely part of that problem and part of that ideology. I don't want to fixate on it as the only problem, right? Because right now the fight is really centered on like teacher compensation and educator compensation more broadly, from our first level paraprofessional to our absolute most veteran teachers, right? But it's all part of the same fight.
And teachers are leaving the district because of the failure to have proper compensation.
Absolutely, and not only they leave the district, because you can go a mile down the street to a district that has better compensation, or you have teachers with these advanced degrees in all these different fields who can find much better paying jobs in those fields or in the tech industry or whatever. And so the longer this goes on, the longer they think they can get away with paying us the lowest teacher salaries in Alameda County, the longer we'll be out here. So.
And there's a strike that just ended in Los Angeles, 3-day strike, teachers, staff. It seems like there's a growing strike wave in California and nationally over inflation, over the conditions of public workers, other workers. You feel you're part of that?
Absolutely, yeah. And it's funny because in the 2019 Oakland strike was just a couple weeks after the LA strike back then too. So, it seems like we're kind of on the same wavelength there. But I would love for this to constitute a strike wave, and I hope other districts catch on. It depends where they are in their contract fight and whatnot. But
is there any effort by the CTA, which you're part of, the OEA, to link up these struggles directly, so that instead of fighting in each separate district, there's statewide action of all teachers?
I'm not plugged into internal CTA conversations. That we have had actions like that before, and I would like to see it more. Right, I would like to see more teachers from different districts grouping together to pose more serious action, as well as more serious collaboration between different unions within, say, OUSD or wherever, such as SEIU, AFSCME, because their jobs are on the chopping block, right? Like when they close schools, often teachers can get replaced or can get relocated to another school, but the custodians aren't. All right, and so most recently, SEIU lost a bunch of paraprofessional positions, which is
these are critical positions on the school, aren't they? Paraprofessional.
And not only are they critical positions, they are, in a sense, federally mandated. Many of these paraprofessionals are needed in classrooms to make sure that the district meets the accommodation requirements in students' individualized education plans in special education. And so if kids aren't getting push-in support from paraprofessionals or pull-out support, and that that one-on-one support, that small group support, if they're not getting that, OUSD is in violation of federal law. And
they don't seem to care, do they?
No, this district is not complying with a single IEP for any student here. I can just pull any kid, any school, and we can dive deep and show how we are not meeting those accommodations correctly.
Well, there was a new election for the school board. Has that made any difference or any change?
In a certain sense, it has, but sometimes it feels like, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, where, we, establish this majority of, more progressive candidates, or at least a 50-50 between the progressive candidates versus the privatizers, and then suddenly someone has a change of heart and starts proposing school closures. So, I don't want to comment on the psychology of any individual politician here, but I don't care who you are. If you're standing in front of my kid's education, you've picked your side.
How long have you been teaching?
This is my 6th year in OUSD, and I've taught in other capacities as well for a couple of years.
480,000. That's a tremendous amount of money.
It's more than the president. That's it.
How is that?
How is that?
Superintendent here is making 480,000, and apparently there's not enough money for teachers.
Yep, and our central office spends $20 million more than other districts in the area, so like comparable districts. So I don't know how it happened, but it's not right, especially if they're claiming there's no money, because there clearly is money.
Are you a teacher?
I am a teacher.
What's your name?
Sadine.
And what does it mean when you don't have money in the schools and teachers are leaving?
It means that it's not good for the kids, because like, how is teacher turnover like support an institution that knows its kids, knows its community, has developed sustainable curriculum, and like kids that have long-lasting relationships with their teachers? It just doesn't make sense.
What do you think should be done about it?
Pay teachers more, pay schools more, smaller class sizes, more teachers, more community schools. Yeah.
And the newly elected board, what are they doing about it?
I'm honestly not quite sure. I know some board members are very supportive and some are not, so it just depends on the board member.
And Los Angeles just finished a strike, 3-day strike yesterday. Seems like there's a strike wave of educators around the country who are fed up, can't survive, and want better education conditions.
Yeah, I mean, it happened in 2019, it happened before then. It's going to keep happening until we get what schools deserve for the good of the kids.
Like they all take so much sick.
My name is Ellen Murray. I'm a grandparent and a parent of Oakland students and supporting the teachers, but mainly trying to show that everything is interconnected, that the war going on, that the fact that the U.S. and China are fighting each other over control of the world, it's all coming down to decimate public education, and as a retired transit worker, public transit. Privatization, underfunding, it's devastating the future for our children.
And these politicians, the Democrats run Oakland,
Right.
they run California, they run the United States. It seems like bipartisan, the privatization and charter.
Definitely. The fight with China is definitely bipartisan. It's capitalists worrying about who's going to control their markets and resources. And I agree that Democrats are so-called lesser evil, but in reality, they'll deliver the evil. And they're moving to fascism, too. So get ready, because we got to mobilize and take out this whole capitalist system.
The union leadership support the Democrats, give millions of dollars. You were in the transit union, they gave them to the Democrats. At the same time, Gavin Newsom was attacking transit workers.
Well, look what happened with the Democrats, and particularly President Biden, when the train workers were trying to take on the terrible lack of safety and lack of staffing and danger to both themselves and to the community after that crash. And what did they do? They were getting ready to strike, and the Democrats, with Biden in the lead, told them no strikes and said it was illegal. What we need is a labor movement that says, if we're not in jail, we've sold you out, because we're going to have to go to jail to take on these Democrats and the Republicans, and most importantly, the capitalists.
Alyssa.
And what's lowest pay in the Bay? Is that true?
Yep, it is, unfortunately.
Are you a teacher?
I am. This is my 4th year at Skyline High School.
What's it like having to survive with the low pay?
Well, unfortunately, I cannot even live in Oakland. I have to live in a different city and commute to work every day because I cannot afford to live in Oakland.
And the district, why can't they provide decent salaries? They got extra money from the state of California.
They're greedy. They don't care about us.
And what do you think is needed to be done with it?
What is what?
What should people do about it? What do you think is the answer?
I mean, we're doing stuff right now to try and make a change, so continuing to do that.
This is the union. Are they backing you up?
So this isn't an unsanctioned action, but I mean, you see how many people are here. We're fighting for what we deserve and what the students deserve, because we're not only fighting for pay, we are fighting for better facilities, smaller class sizes. We're fighting for a number of things, not just pay.
And there was just a strike that ended in Los Angeles. Is that connected to what's going on here?
I'm not
It
sure.
seems like they were fighting for wages and inflation.
Yeah, I think so.
Gentrification.
Yes.
Charters.
Yeah.
I'm Hillary. I'm a teacher at Oakland High. We are here basically for multiple reasons. One is that we are currently in contract negotiations. OUSD has not been bargaining in good faith. They gave us a 3.5% offer for compensation, which is just not enough. We've been asking for 22.97 to get us to the median pay of the Bay Area. We're also standing in solidarity with classified staff, so that's para-educators, attendance specialists, who have been cut basically due to district cuts, so they are laying off a bunch of these really necessary support staff, especially in SPED classrooms.
How is that affecting students and the whole education process?
Yeah, I mean, students aren't getting the support that they need, especially students with IEPs. If they're special ed students, IEPs aren't getting finished, basically, which is also definitely very illegal. But also, students need like additional supports in the classroom as well, restorative justice, library techs, and they're just not getting those services that they need.
This seems like it's a statewide issue. The Los Angeles teachers went out for 3 days. They're facing the same kind of conditions. What do you think the need of statewide action of all public education workers in California?
Yeah, I mean, I think that would definitely help as well. We're all facing the same things. Yeah.
And the union is not supporting the action today. Why not?
So this is an unsanctioned union strike, so it's a Wildcat. Yeah, it's just, I think, timing mostly as well, in order to call like a legal action. There's like some hoops that need to be like jumped through, some legal hoops. But we wanted to react very like quickly to that offer that they gave us.
And there are 130 billionaires in California. The superintendent is making $480,000 a year. I mean, it seems like there's a disparity of the wealth, and it's affecting public education in California.
Yeah, I agree.
What's going to change it?
I mean, we have to organize, I think, fight against the billionaires, get them to kind of, or maybe just force them to spread the wealth a little bit, fund public education, fund other public services, just, yeah, create a less of a gap between the two.